Welcome back to CheckpointXP on Campus North. Howard here, your host alongside Jacob Brothers.
Hello.
Cool. Make sure you like, subscribe. That's how we get people to watch the show. That's how people continue to pay us to do the show and bring you the content. We need that. But we had a conversation a couple weeks ago about, we're talking about Hyperscape and we're talking about new esports. And, you know, how the market sort of has put a lot of games in the position to be big esports. But we also noticed that, hey, there's got to be people to actually play these games. And Jacob, you said something very interesting. And you said, you know, there's a lot of teams in a lot of esports that have kind of no hope of really being good at anything. Is it time for us to have a esports draft? I don't know how I feel about that, but I want to hear from you. Why do you think that is an idea that we should be exploring in at least American esports?
Right. Well, I think that the most important point is that it would help the pros. So, like, let's talk the whole picture. So, it would help the pros because talk the Overwatch League, talk Call of Duty League, whatever. A lot of these teams have no reason to root for them. Like, a lot of these teams, they just play their games, they lose their games, they go home, that's it. Why would anyone buy the merch of this team that never has any hope? So, from that level, the draft would at least have fans. Like, I mean, you live in Detroit. I'm a fan of the Detroit teams. We both know a little too well of, like,
yeah,
none of our teams would go anywhere unless there was a draft. And so there are a lot of teams in the esports market, now that we're moving into franchising, that could benefit from that kind of a setup. And so you move down to, who else would that benefit? I think we know at this point, there's kind of a college scene of competitive video games that happens here. So, you know, kind of. So, if you have these college students that are playing in these tournaments, the Harrisburgs, the Maryvilles, the Utahs, the students that are kind of elevated above others, that would catch the attention of the pros. Then the pros can pursue them, put money into scouting, which can put money into different programs. And so you're starting to create kind of a revenue circle that can then move these teams up to that team. And then, you know, Overwatch contenders, maybe it's not, but I feel like it's a mess. I feel like there's like all of the lower farm systems that are in esports right now doesn't really make sense. So if you, or isn't even that valid. So if you're able to rope in colleges into that system, people already are familiar enough with professional sports, or traditional sports, to where that system would be very easy to plug in. And so then you could even rope in high schools as well, and then, you know, that whole farm system builds itself.
I mean, the thing is that on the surface, I agree with you. I too worry about sort of these lower ranked teams in mini esports about what they're going to do in terms of improving their chances. The overlap of international talent or talent that is, you know, coming from other places to play in America is not happening a lot besides Overwatch League, which obviously is because it is centralized in North America. But when you think about League of Legends or Dota or CSGO or many other teams, a lot of that is centralized overseas, and a lot of those overseas players are not coming to America to play in whatever American sort of proxy league that happens here. It's really concerning. So I get it. I think, you know, for me as a soccer fan, the academy system is something that I think works very well. The LCS and League of Legends has an academy system.
Yeah.
Arguably, the best jungler in the LCS and one of the best junglers in the world, Blabber, comes out of the Cloud9 Academy. So their farm system does have some success with bringing in, you know, talent. Where I do see a rub and where I do see sort of an issue is in, you know, when you get into franchising and you have a tier 2 that is not working. Overwatch is something that I'll be completely frank as to say Contenders is not working. There's something drastic that needs to be done with Contenders and with their tier 2, and I think a draft is possible that it can help remedy some of it. But I just don't see how you could do a massive overhaul of that, considering that people age out of esports at 26. So you're talking about kids that'll have to go into college and be one and done. And we talk about how much people hate that in basketball. When it was a thing, you know, people say, hey, if this kid's good enough straight out of high school, he's 18, he's an adult, he should go to the league. So if you're talking about a farm system, it will have to be in high school. Yeah. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not entirely comfortable at this point with esports scouting in high school. I think it's cool. I think it's a novel idea, but I don't think that the infrastructure is quite there yet to make something like that make sense. I think, to your point, if we started it in college and then moved down to high school after college has sort of had a proof of concept, then maybe it's something we could think about. But as it stands right now, pro esports, fix your tier 2. Here's the biggest thing. Don't try to monetize your tier 2. You're not going to make money on it. But you're not going to make money on your tier 2. That is your farm system that is there to create new talent. If you are trying to make money off your tier 2, you are in for a rude
it just
awakening.
Confuses people more.
Yeah.
Like that's where I stand on it. But also, to your point, Norris, because you were saying how like a lot of these esports function differently. For traditional sports, some of them don't have farms, really. Like football is structured very differently from baseball, which is structured differently from basketball.
Well, college is the farm for football.
I know, but I'm saying like that farm is very different than, say, the MLB farm, for example. And so if you take these games and treat them like that, as we do, treat them like the individual sports, then you can come up with different systems. I mean, great, would it be confusing? Duh, but granted, esports is always confusing, I think. And so then you could develop these different farm systems for these different games where it works and where it's plausible. And I very much do agree with you on the high school part of it, but you could also think back to previous interviews that we've had with people where it's like, oh, I'm now a coach for, or like Cool ABC, when he was like, you know, I kind of help coach high school students sometimes. You can create jobs of where people in the college or older are now coaching the younger kids. Mm-hmm. So even if it's not like a direct farm, it's still training them to move into that sport that they're choosing.
Listen, I'm not saying it is a bad idea.
Oh, 100%.
I don't think instituting a draft is a bad idea.
Right.
I just think I am not sure if the infrastructure is there quite yet. I think, you know, maybe if it's something that we can figure out, we figure it out. But, you know, the some sort of talent pipeline in North America needs to be made. It needs to be made fast.
Maybe when college esports is actually unified. Because that's something we talk about all the time of like, these conferences are not connected. And so maybe when the conferences are connected, that can lead to a draft, that can lead to a farm, and the real future of esports.